Hoopity goopity! Welcome.
No. Let's finally have a good start.
Hoopity goopity.
We gotta get a little warm. We gotta get a little warm.
Yeah,
I gotta get that. You gotta feel it. You gotta feel the rhythm. You gotta feel the ride. It's bobsled time.
Yeah.
We make such a good
great
bobsled
job.
team, boys. All right.
Actually, I have a whole conversation around that one.
Hoopla. Let's do this.
Hoopla.
Welcome to Hobbit Hoopla.
Hoopla!
The unofficial podcast of Middle Earth. We are back, baby! Rings of Power Season 2 is here. Back where the Hoopla podcast all started 2 years ago with the original Hobbit Hoopla. And now we're back, Hobbit Hooplaing again for Rings of Power Season 2. They just dropped the first 3 episodes of Season 2, so we watched all 3 of those episodes, and we're going to do a fun little Hoopla chat, a little Hoopla Reviewpla about episodes 1, 2, and 3 right here. Talk about all the best parts, all the characters that we missed, some of the new characters that we get to meet, and everything in between. So, but without any further ado, let's introduce the wonderful members of the Hoopla Crewpla. We have the lore master, Andy Smith.
Hey Jamie, Andy Smith here, connoisseur of many nerdy things, DC, Marvel, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. I'm so excited for this season of Rings of Power here. We just did a season 1 recap, and we just watched the 3 episodes back to back to back. So I'm love doing a quick reaction here. It might not be that quick. It might be very thorough. We'll see what we talk about. I don't know what you guys thought about those 3 episodes, and I'm excited to hear it.
All the listeners out there, check the timestamp of this podcast. If that first digit is a 2-hour episode, you know that we loved it. If it's anything less than that, we still probably loved it. And of course, we have the fantasy expert, Chris Pio.
Fantasy expert Chris here. Happy to be back. And oh my goodness, is Middle Earth exciting. I am loving these first 3 episodes. There's so much to talk about. So let's stop wasting time on my intro and get into the meats.
Exactly.
Oh, I guess there is a 4th member of the Hoopla.
And let's get into his meats. Welcome, the 4th member of the Hoopla Crewpla. A beautiful elf with some fancy new jewelry that's definitely not going to corrupt him at all. Jay Claxer.
Hey, Jake Laxer here, lover of all things TV and movies and rings.
Very elvish of you.
Yes.
Now say it in Kenya. Luis Trieni,
Nailed it.
Something.
Thank you.
Our
Thank you, Lord
improv
Master.
warm-up
This is
was
why.
perfect for this.
I made that word up.
Anyhow, yeah, we're back. We're ready to do it. Season 2 is in the books, and yeah, we'll wrap the 3 episodes into one.
on the books. It's not in the books. I wish it was in the books. I wish
It's
all
in
the
the
episodes
back
would
of the
drop
books.
right
Did you want to
now.
do one back to back to back to back to back to back to back
If
reaction?
all of them had released today, I would still be watching it right now. This is
Wonderful.
and that's spoilers. I loved it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It was very enjoyable.
You'll have to stick around to the end of the episode if you want Chris's official rating for these 3 episodes, though. Yeah, so thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Hoopla podcast. If you want to stay up to date with everything we're talking about and watch some cool little fun clips and everything, you can follow us on all the social media that Chris will tell you about right now.
You can follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok for all things Hoopla. Make sure to follow us at Hoopla Podcast. We've got some cool little behind-the-scenes clips. We've got clips from the show, great posts on those socials, and most of all, we want to hear from you guys. Tell us what you're thinking about this season. Also, there's other things. As the summer winds down, our summer blockbusters are in the rearview mirror, but this fall, we've got plenty of new exciting things coming out in the Star Wars universe. Andy's a connoisseur of Marvel and DC. We've got more things on the way there.
Everything.
So definitely follow us at Hoopla Podcasts.
Do
Hey,
it.
Chris,
You can find
and we have
those...
a cinematic experience War of the Rohirrim, you got to call out the Lord of the Rings
Oh,
movie coming
yeah.
out.
Ooh,
You know,
I'm very excited for
Sorry,
that anime
I'm just
film.
not used to having
Yep.
2 Lord of the Rings content at the same time.
That's almost as many
unheard
contents as
of.
books. So you can find all that in the links in the episode description. Thank you all once again. And now let's talk about some Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. We are back on Middle Earth, and we open with such a cool opening. We
Wow.
flash back to Sauron before he was Halbrand and his interactions with Adar as he gets betrayed in a pretty sick way. Unfortunately, they did spoil it in the trailers, but that's fine. If you don't watch the trailers,
Which
you're
I
gonna
did
get
not see.
spoiled.
Yeah, I didn't
Good for
spoil it
you,
at all.
Jake. Good for you.
Yeah,
I was
like
waiting
that.
for
Well
it.
done.
Yeah.
As soon as Adar picked up that crown, I was like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna kill Sauron." What a cool scene to see.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that was a few centuries ago, and then the weird black ooze of Sauron just existing in the pit in the bottom of this cave for hundreds of
loved
years.
that. Oh, I loved it. I what kind of went through my head as I was watching that, I was like, well, vile is an anagram of evil. And I was like, oh, it's in of itself. And I was like, okay, I like kind of what they're doing
Whoa.
Oh
there.
my god,
Shut it down.
evil,
Shut it everything down.
live,
It also
vile.
They're synonyms. Oh my
That's
god.
that's
Shut it all
great.
down.
Good job,
He's
Jake.
done it. He's cracked the code.
It's a message in a bottle, baby. That's all there is to it.
I actually really did not like the black creature. I thought it
Oh.
looked very out of place for a Lord of the Rings production. I understand that it is, Sauron gripping to the last remnants of life. I feel like the blood was enough, and maybe we didn't need to see him like flopping around.
oozing.
I'll be honest, it kind of looked like flubber to me.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I put
Chris-
flubber in my notes, Chris. It was very flubber. He's just
but that is my only complaint.
Holy
The-
shit.
The whole sequence.
Robin
with,
Williams as Tom Bombadil. Sorry to interrupt,
like,
but
Oh no, you interrupt me for that. May he rest in
Missed
peace.
that would have
opportunity.
been incredible.
But that was the sequence itself was cinematic, was excellent storytelling, just front to back. The whole 22 minutes, I think I clocked it as. I just didn't like the way they represented the black evil thing. I don't know. A small complaint for a very cool start to the season.
Yeah, I actually kind of liked it though. I felt
Sure.
like it had this own sort of ominous tone to it. I did kind of expect Tom
Oh, it
Hardy
was
to
ominous.
morph out of the Venom there, but that's fine.
We
that's
are
fine.
Sauron.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Tom Holland comes swinging through Mordor. Great.
Oh,
you know
that's
what
right.
though? You know what though, Jake? What I thought was interesting about it, it's different. To Chris's point, it's much different from what we've seen before. In the past, in The Hobbit, we saw the necromancer, who's Sauron. He's almost like like air blowing away, and like the dark cloud that descends upon descends upon you. When he died, his spirit almost exploded and went away with the wind. But here it's more of he doesn't die. He like the blood drips and then he's kind of a creature. One thing that was interesting in the opening, the opening I guess sequences of each of the episodes in season 1, you have the sand that's maneuvering around and it's showing different shapes like rings or whatever that may be. But the actual when the black ooze comes in season 1 and kind of descends and takes over the sand, it looked very reminiscent of him flopping, kind of that dark,
That's true.
like ooze maneuvering around, almost like he's infecting the ground. And then you see it also later in probably episode 2, where the map transition, you have the black darkness descending. It's just very ominous. Cool. It's kind of like there's you just know that there's something growing more and more and more. So I kind of liked that as like, this is what Sauron is. He's like a creature that's coming to destroy everyone, even though, Halbrand, beautiful, good looking guy, Good
He's
looking
too
guy.
hot to be evil.
All right.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. It was a means to an end. We simply must.
Yeah, we
move
got to talk
on.
about other stuff.
Okay,
I
we
didn't
gotta
expect
talk-
us to spend 20 minutes on the black
on the
ooze.
ooze. On the ooze. On the ooze.
But we do get to see some cool backstory to Sauron, and we get to see the relationship between Adar and Sauron. And then when Halbrand returns
Yes.
to Mordor and allows himself to get captured, so he can have this face-to-face interaction with Adar. I thought that was really cool, and to have that little bit of backstory, because it was mentioned in season 1 that Adar killed Sauron, but to see how it went down, and then to see Halbrand come to Mordor to plan his evil revenge over Adar before taking over the whole world. It was great. Every scene we had with Halbrand in Mordor was awesome.
Jamie, what
Hello.
was his aims in that moment when Sauron went to Adar? Was it really just to uncover what is happening amongst the orcs, what's happening amongst the people there? Because he gets captured, he then says he's going to work under Sauron, kills Waldreg in one of the first of all, that was wonderful, like the Waldreg Sauron scenes. And then I kind of wanted to see Waldreg die like on screen, but
He didn't deserve that. He also doesn't deserve our rest in peace music or whatever.
That's true. What
yeah.
was the
Eulogy
Sauron
music.
in that moment?
Eulogy music. Well, I
Yes.
want to take that question and give you an answer to jump in here because I think it leads to a bigger point. Sauron, Halbrand, the character, is not lying to us in anything he's done. He willingly let himself get captured. Even when he was mending the knee and pledging his allegiance, he didn't say he pledges allegiance to Adar.
The
He
Lord
says,
of
I pledge
Mordor.
allegiance to the Dark Lord of Mordor for as long as his days and as long as the days of Mordor are existing, which, as we know, ends up being incredibly true. The cool thing about Sauron as a villain, and we talked about this in our season 1 recap, it's possible that we see shreds of humanity in him. I thought we were going to see a little bit of it, in the intro sequence when he gets on the boat and he meets this stranger. It's where he ends up getting the,
For a moment there,
heraldry.
they kind of trick you to
For a
say,
moment.
maybe
Yeah.
he's turning a new
Right.
leaf.
Exactly. But even when he
That has
says
light on the other side.
they're on
of
the
it.
they're on the ship and even when he says brace yourself, hold on to something before that sea kraken attacks, you might think, oh, he's actually trying to be helpful. But no, he's just being real. That's what he is. He's never lied to anyone. He's deceiving Galadriel, sure, but he's walking into Region saying, I'm here to craft rings. I'm not going to tell you why, but I'm going to give you the ability to do it. Everything he does is deliberate. Everything he does is on purpose, and it's making him a very cool villain to watch him rise to power. This is what we're watching.
Absolutely.
He rise to power, and it's so cool.
Yeah, Jamie used the word last time in the recap, sincerity, and I think that speaks tenfold to exactly what's going on here. Halbrand has his directives. He's a master manipulator, and he basically will do everything to take all of the information around him, glean that, and utilize it against everyone else. And seeing this whole opening sequence of how he came to be or was reborn in a sense, it makes me sort of think that there isn't this humanity. In fact, I kind of did the flip, and I decided actually the one moment where maybe he still did show it was the sequence where we see Galadriel and him talking. And that was maybe just a glimmer of when he could have held on to that human-like trait, but very much just a dark, ominous shadow of
Adar.
being.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
You heard it here first, folks.
Ooh.
Jake thinks that Sauron is a bad guy. And I, for one, agree
He's
with you
evil.
completely.
And vile.
Hey, can
And
I
vile.
ask a quick
And
lore
he
question
can
to the group?
live.
A
Go for it.
Sauron lore question. One thing that was interesting to me is he has not taken power here. And they're in the Forward Waith castle, and Morgoth clearly died, is not dead actually, but he's somewhere. He's gone. And Sauron hasn't taken control of the army. So that leaves a lot of questions as to what happened. Where are all the other lieutenants? Are there other people that are that were under Morgoth that are like out there? But he hasn't taken power, and then Adar supplants him, and then has his army, and then we're immediately in Rings of Power season 1. So I assumed at the beginning of season 1 that Sauron had been ruling orcs for hundreds of years. But that's not the case. Morgoth had just died, or relatively just died, and now it's Adar's army. And so there's some things there's open space of
we get to see the full growth of Sauron's power from a pile of ooze all the way to the prologue to the Lord of the Rings, where he gets his fingers sliced off by Isildur, who is still alive. We predicted it. That's right, folks.
He's there.
A correct Hoopla theory came true.
Hoopla.
The only
so
one
I'm so excited
that
that like the Rings of Power is going to take us directly to that moment in the prologue of Lord of the Rings, and we get to see from where Sauron is now as Annatar
at his lowliest point, right?
Yeah,
like on that raft, which was truly his lowliest point. Well, I guess his lowliest point was probably a blood.
But he was a
ooze.
puddle.
Yeah, but
Puddle's pretty low.
but he was eating centipedes as an ooze, and he didn't have any centipedes on the raft.
It was first a rat.
That's true.
Then
actually, it was a millipede.
Oh no!
I'm just kidding.
But yes, he's doing a great job manipulating everybody, and incredible character, incredible actor as well. Charlie Vickers is knocking it out of the park,
doing it so well.
And some of the characters, of course, that he's been manipulating, Celebrimbor, making more rings.
Oh, absolutely.
Dummy.
And all of the elves, we catch up with Galadriel and Elrond and Gil-galad after the rings have been crafted at the end of season 1. And what did you guys think about the relationship between Elrond and Galadriel at the start of this season, and whether or not the rings should be used?
Well, they definitely
very cool.
They jumped into it very quickly. I'm glad it wasn't
loved
some
that decision.
it's some elongated, passive aggressiveness back and forth. Instead, like, they jumped into this storyline, and it went right into it, to the point where Elrond jumped off that cliff within 3 minutes of us seeing the characters for the first time. It started moving. But I love that relationship back and forth, where, Elrond does have his he stands by his morals. Like, when he thinks something, he goes with it. But he also, we've seen in the past, is very much a loving, like, he loves his friends, but he knows what he knows. He knows what his father would have done. I think everything is based off, and that's why Círdan is a really good character for Elrond, who knows his father. It's all kind of prescripted, and it kind of reminds me of, like, this character Elrond. In the first season, I was like, could he be like the Hugo Weaving character in Lord of the Rings? He seems like a younger character from the movies to me.
Practical, yeah. Take it back even further. The very first time we see them, they're charging, racing on horses. It's hard to determine if that's more like a friendly running through the forest type of deal. Turns out she's chasing him, and this is
I wasn't so into that
threatful
scene.
environment. It was very cool. My favorite part about the introduction in episode 1 here, though, is that we jumped right into it. Like you said, Andrew, the show's been off the air. The show hasn't been here
for 2 years.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
And so you're exactly right when you say that there's very few possibilities that could have gotten me invested in that storyline as fast as they did with those horses racing through the woods. It feels like they picked up just where they left off, and that is the best possible decision they could have made as a show running team, to start exactly where they left off last season, because we've been gone for 2 years. We needed this push back into the universe, and it was great.
Jamie actually texted the Hoopla Crewpla and was like, "Oh, Jake's gonna be bothered by a scene to be his golden gripe." And when I saw the horses going, I was like, "Where's the Morphin
That
Clark
wasn't
smile?
the scene.
We're gonna
No,
see
that
it."
wasn't the
And,
scene.
you got me. I mean, you got me.
Well,
but
we did
were you
see
not
that.
disappointed that she smiled even bigger than
It was a
season
great
1
smile.
a little
Yes.
later?
yes,
That was a happy smile,
but that was a justified smile. That smile was my people are saved.
Okay.
In Linden, and I can justify that.
That would be
that's
that
acceptable.
truly would be a monumental happy moment for the community. So
This
you're
is
allowed
true.
to smile.
Yeah, you can smile there.
This
Yes,
is a
approved.
big moment
You get
for
the
the
golden
Hoopla
thumb.
Big
podcast
grins.
right here. Jake is okay with smiles.
Wow.
Yes, but when
yeah.
that was a beautiful scene, by the way, when they all put on the rings. Whether or not, there's debate
very
as to
cool.
whether they should have put the rings on, but they did put the rings on, and the tree became unblighted.
Overhand, the
Just-
callback to the very first scene of the trilogy. Very
Absolutely
cool.
Yeah, that was
beautiful.
cool.
But I did absolutely think about Jake when there was the close-up shot of Galadriel just smiling at the camera. I was like, oh, Jake is going to hate this so much. I hope he doesn't turn it off.
No, I liked it. But yeah, you guys were talking about the Elrond, his fortitude in terms of like being able to remain resilient to the ring's power. I think that speaks volumes as to how much of a profound character this is, because I mean, he's going to be the one that pragmatically guides the elves to not screw the whole thing up. And so that's going to be a very interesting dynamic, because, knowing his and Galadriel's relationship as friends, but also bearing the responsibility for all of the elves in Middle Earth. So
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah.
kind of fun
And
to see how
Jake,
that plays
I'm
out.
sorry for keep pushing back to the Lord of the Rings movies, but he says, Gandalf, the rings can't stay here because he's seen this scenario where the elves
This
are
exact corruption.
are corrupted. His best
Right.
friend, his
Yep.
leader, and even the guy that
And
he
the cool guy
respects
with the
most,
boats.
Círdan, the boat builder.
Right. Yeah, I think Galadriel and Elrond were definitely the kind of the focus of the elf storylines in season 1, and it's weird to say I hope that it takes a back seat in season 2, but I do kind of hope that. I feel like we got it out of the way in these first 2 episodes where you do really see the struggle of their relationship. She made a choice based on, she's had a however many thousands of years friendship with this one elf, and she threw it away for this stranger she met on a raft to be deceived.
Okay,
and
he was a
ultimately
hot
be
stranger,
leading
though.
towards-
So
True, it
it's-
was a
come
hot
on.
stranger. The internet is going crazy for Charlie Vickers right now.
As they should.
But but they tackled their relationship. I love that Elrond initially was very opposed to helping her. You have fallen from grace. You have chosen the rings. You have chosen Sauron. You have chosen evil. And she comes in and tries to reason with him. Puts her hand on his chest, and he takes that hand and says, "Get off me. You made your choice." Eventually, towards the 3rd episode, we do see that he is going to take the company to Eregion to make sure everything's cool. That's the only way he'll do it. He won't follow Galadriel anymore, doesn't even want to be her friend. So we're going to see more of that relationship. Again, it's weird to say I hope it takes the backseat, but I'm glad that they knocked out that struggle very early.
I would say
You
that Chris,
know-
he's only guiding them because of Círdan. I think Círdan's the force
Right.
that like the wise kind of elder that like gives him, okay, I shouldn't be this brash. Like I should help my
Right.
friends, even though I'm really angry with their decision making and think it's not good for us overall, like the community.
That's Elrond.
Yeah,
That's
and-
Elrond as we
and
know him
I-
in the trilogy.
I think Andy, you were kind of hitting on this earlier, but I think this just makes it so much more interesting in the original Fellowship film now, just to see Elrond's reluctance to have the ring brought to Rivendell, because he's seen this
Yes.
shit happen before.
Yes.
And I
Jake.
think it just adds so much more weight to the original films. So I like to see that it's like they're doing backfill, but filling in places and using things that have been successful before and re-implanting them. I mean, from that directive perspective, they're doing great.
I
They're
will
doing a really
say,
good job.
alongside that, though, there's so many properties right now that are just throwing nostalgia at you. In these first 3 episodes, I didn't feel overwhelmed by just references to other Lord of the Rings material. Like, I thought
Yeah,
they were
there's
taking a lot
very
of
few.
really interesting story, like, the story's going in different ways that I don't think were expected. Um,
Is there a word for earned nostalgia? I mean,
Nostalgia.
not that nostalgia needs to be earned.
I-
Okay, fine, sure.
maybe it could just
But
be
I-
nostalgia. Yeah.
Well, we'll just call it earned nostalgia because I feel like the first 3 episodes so far, to speak tonally to it, they have taken a more direct approach in storytelling rather than trying to backfill. There are these backfill moments, but as you guys just said, there are fewer of them so far. So I think they're just making good content and,
Yeah.
not worrying
Yeah.
about all these people online that are saying Galadriel wouldn't do that. Why would Galadriel make that decision? She wouldn't do that. Okay, you don't know Galadriel.
Yeah, who cares?
Thousands of years
I-
ago, she is in the midst of a different conflict than she was in these
It's
original
also
trilogy.
written better,
And
so it's easier
It's also
to
written better.
yeah,
Yes.
so
And
it's easier to take that.
yeah, and Chris, that's also something that we talked about in season 1 is that, these characters were already established, right? Like these characters were already drawn out by the blueprints of the original books. But now, we've basically come to the playing field and said, okay, this is Amazon's show. They've acquired the rights from the Tolkien estate. We know we have room to develop and play and workshop here. Let's go. Let's just see
Let 'em.
what season 2's got. Yeah, let's fly like the Eagles. Let's just fly.
Let's just
fly.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how everything continues to go with Elrond and Galadriel. But what I'm most excited for the rest of season 2 is Elrond and his buddy Durin, who is currently in a region getting some rings
Wow.
crafted. And
That was
so
interesting.
we have Elrond, who is opposed to the elves having rings. He's certainly going to be opposed to the dwarves having rings if Annatar is there making the rings himself.
Right.
And there's already that like debate between Durin and Disa and King Durin as to whether or not they should even get these rings. So I can't wait to see all of these opinions come together with Elrond, Galadriel, and all of the dwarves on whether or not all these rings should get made. And I think we're getting that next episode, and it's going to be good.
Jamie, I think this is so interesting how they're pulling the dwarves into the process with Celebrimbor, because they naturally those races are not going to interact. They're not going to be friendly, especially during the third. But it's all because of an economic disaster that's caused by the volcano erupting, right? The volcano
Oh,
erupts.
yeah.
There's an earthquake that then shatters their, much of their city in Khazad-dûm, takes out of the sunlight. And what do you do at that point? And it's really interesting to see how it kind of furthers along the story when you start in episode 1 of Durin. I guess episode 2 they were introduced then. Durin the Fourth is now
Right.
a commoner, right? And you see him mining, you see him having to eat last season's bread. So he's the one that he knows Celebrimbor. He knows Celebrimbor is friendly with Elrond, so he's a linkage there, but he still doesn't trust the elves, because they have done them ill many times in the past, especially last season.
Yeah, but
So,
they're in
I love
need.
that's how they pull it in.
They need someone
Right.
to help them. So sometimes you gotta.
Again,
Everything with the
all
dwarves
part
was
of
incredible
Sauron's
in these
plan.
couple episodes. Disa once again stole the show, and the relationship of Durin and other Durin, just beautiful as always.
I want to talk more about the dwarves, but that's first of all, to talk about the 3-episode thing. I posted this on a story at Hoopla Podcast. Make sure to check it out. They did have to drop all 3 episodes at once. I mean, we didn't see the dwarves storyline in episode 1 at all, nor did we see Numenor really until episode 2 and 3, latter parts of episode 2. So we'll talk about the dwarves in a second. One more thing I want to mention about the elves is Gil-galad.
Yeah.
The High King, when you're talking about trust and trusting in the elves, trusting in Celebrimbor, trusting in the rings, I had one problem with the decision making in this first episode, as much as I like the show and as much as I think everyone is driven with purpose and has very good goals for the rest of the season, why, after being so upset with Galadriel, did he just watch her put on the ring and then absolutely let her run wild with it? Now,
I agree.
is
Yes.
that a poor choice? Or is that a subtle note that even these powerful, mindful elves are starting to be corrupted as soon as they put the rings on? We saw it with Círdan,
Mm.
who these rings would have been in the water if not for a rock of the boat
Yeah.
where he dropped the rings, had to take a look, pours them in his hands, decides to 180, bring him on back. So are they subtly hinting that even these elves, these powerful beings that are supposed to be perfect in the light of the Valar, are they being corrupted as soon as these rings are made? I think it's a subtle note. What are your thoughts? Is it just poor decision making from Gil-galad and the writing team, or is it subtle?
I think it's the subtlety, and I also think who else?
That's
You
what was
know,
going to be
like-
my point. Like, even if
Yeah,
he's
that's a
mad
good
at
point.
Galadriel,
Like-
he's like, Galadriel's
Yeah.
Galadriel.
True.
Right.
Commander and all that jazz.
She just swam the entire Sundering Seas.
Yeah.
If she can't bear it, who can?
Yeah, she almost
That's a good
smooched
point.
Sauron. No one else is cool enough to smooch Sauron.
Yeah.
But that's my thing. He
It's
spends
a little Sauron smooch.
he spends 5 minutes berating her, saying, "Oh, how could you possibly make these decisions? Is it true? Is it true what you have done?" And then, oh, here's this powerful artifact that I am on record as saying I don't trust. And then he just says, "Well, now Cat's literally out of the bag. Let's go ahead and put these rings on," and just lets Galadriel have one.
Yeah,
I think you're right. It's who else is the answer, but
It was a quick change of mind.
but
it was a quick change of mind.
yeah, I agree.
it was also
Other than
really
that, I
pretty
think-
jewelry. So
It's
know.
also really pretty.
It was very
And
nice.
of course,
they
she
showed
has
us.
to get it.
They showed us. Remember, they showed us.
This is
Chris, to the corruption point though as well. Do you guys, are they being corrupted immediately? Like obviously Círdan, he looks and then he makes the decision, and he's very close to dropping him into the water, into the ravine. I don't think like Sauron hasn't corrupted them. At least that's their.
Right.
He has not touched them. He has not spoken into them. Like maybe we see in for the other rings later on. But
But is it
there's
just power?
something about the power. It's they even though they are these immortal beings that are perfect in certain ways, but they're clearly not.
Right.
They're as corruptible as many other beings in this world.
That ties into
Círdan
the scene where
did
they're
shave his beard off very soon after putting the ring on. So like
He says, "I'm back in the fight.
He's
Let's
like, I'm
go."
good. By the way,
Ring has
he's
ruined his mind.
He kind of looks not just the shaving the beard. I feel like his hair grew out a little bit more. It got a little bit blonder.
Maybe.
Like, and he's like picking up fish. He's like,
Well,
putting he's having a great time. He's the
the rings
best
bring
boat builder
vitality.
of all time, and he's having a good time.
I love when they're down by the riverside and Elrond is still kind of confused on what to do. And Círdan gives him this line: "Judge the work and leave judgment concerning those who wrought it to the judge who sees all things." So a man of faith, certainly, maybe faith in his people, but perhaps putting too much faith in these rings of power. I don't know. It's something to watch for over the next couple of episodes for these elves. But I think in a general sense, other than Gil-galad's quick change of heart, these elves are very driven, and I'm loving that storyline so far.
Hey,
Yeah.
what about his voice? Gil-galad has just a
Oh, yeah.
beautiful singing voice.
He does.
I was sobbing.
Ranking him right up against
Oh.
Aragorn in Return of the King. I really appreciate
Pippin.
that. And Pippin. You need some elvish music.
Yeah. Speaking of music, a lot of great songs throughout these first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it on over to Disa in Casa
Do it.
Doom.
Yeah.
Even though it fell a little flat because things got shook up a little
Is
bit.
that a
and then we
music
lost-
joke?
That was a
Ah!
music joke, baby.
It
She's
was.
not as sharp as she once was.
Well, it couldn't have been
Treble
any
clef.
flatter. It couldn't have been any flatter than the dwarfs that were under that rock when it fell on the bridge.
Mm.
Talk about a beat.
Too
sharp.
soon. Too soon.
to be. But yeah,
Yes.
honestly, I really like that scene. That was really cool that they had this explorative resonance factor that they've used traditionally throughout the years in Khazad-dûm. But yeah, the fact that the volcano eruption had a mass effect, spreading far and wide. That was cool little
Yeah,
tidbit.
how
that they put.
terrifying to be in that cave system and have all of the exits
Yeah.
and light
The
shut
lighting
off,
just go out.
and you're just
yeah.
in complete
Couldn't agree more.
darkness, sealed in. I mean, I got a little
I,
claustrophobic just watching it on TV.
I agree. I started up episode 2, and it's got this, the beautiful map. We're flying over Middle Earth, and we see Khazad-dûm, and we zoom in on the front entrance with these beautiful giant mirrors that are redirecting sunlight. And I literally wrote in my notes, "Mirrors are so cool, OMG." And then 2 seconds later, and they're gone.
Oh no!
It's the South Park meme. That's exactly what I thought about.
Hey Chris, actually when you're zooming in, I think it's from like their east gate, because it's not the gate that we've been seeing like Celebrimbor
Right.
and all them go through. On the east gate, they zoom in, and there's also those 2 giant pillars, one of a dwarf with an axe and one with a dwarf with a hammer
Yeah.
right over the gate. But what I realized is the next episode after everything happened, the one statue is crashed off the side
no
of
way.
the
I
side
didn't
of the
notice
gate.
that.
You then it takes you into Khazad-dûm, and that's when you have the line of people that are
Oh,
going
good
to
eye.
go to
Yeah,
the
that's interesting.
king and
what a good
the
catch
different
there.
merchants. So you can just see that this has been shattered, but it's going to get way worse for Khazad-dûm, and this
And I
is
think-
kind of the start of the decline.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Chris, you should be
We'll
happy
see.
because the Balrog did not show up.
Oh,
Yes.
that's true.
We
And you-
assumed
I am
that the
pleased.
Balrog was the cause of what happened was actually an earthquake,
Yeah.
You are correct. Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah. I am fine with the Balrog being teased in season 1 as long as it is not a major plot point until maybe the end of this season, possibly even into season 3. I just think they teased it too soon, so I don't want them to use it too soon. If that makes sense.
Cat's out of the bag.
I mean, I would say since they haven't used it yet, I'm gonna just make the Hoopla prediction right now that they're not going to this season.
They're not going to show the
Ooh,
Balrog
okay.
at all. They're going to wait until
Nope.
like season 4.
I would actually love that.
I
too.
agree.
That
Yeah.
now that
That would
now that we're
make
at
me
where we're
hate
at,
the
I agree.
rewatch of season 1 of that moment.
Yeah.
But we're
Can they
past
just go
that
back
at this point.
and cut that like 4-second scene out of season 1? Just delete it, and we're good.
You could
We can
have
move on.
you could
have to
have the
delete
little
it.
leaf,
Yeah.
fall down, and you'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
it's down to Shaft.
And
There
that's
you go.
it. But
True.
here's another thing: seamless transition by Jamie coming up that should be deleted from season 1 because it's my least favorite
Ooh.
moment of season 2 so far. Why the hell did Poppy show up to catch up with Nori and the stranger?
Yeah.
Just completely
Ooh.
ruining the whole
Yeah.
ending to that storyline in season 1, and also making it so that
That's a good
Nori and the
point.
stranger are just these buffoons that don't know how to walk. Like, how long were they lost? That Poppy caught them immediately? She would
They're
have had
making
to
it
leave
seem like it's
like
only been
12 hours after they left.
Yeah.
If they're making it seem like
Unless they've been walking in
out here
circles.
for a significant period of time. They're doing their circles. They're out of water. They're out of food. Everything is going horribly wrong, and then Poppy just kind of walks on up. That does
Right.
kind of take away from how devastating the landscape is for Nori and the stranger at this point. But
Yeah,
it is
so it's
nice
like-
to see them together. But it does take away from what they did before.
Yeah,
I agree.
that was my least favorite thing.
Yes, I don't like that she just showed up. I like that she's back. I think that dynamic, the three of them, is going to work well enough to be, kind of cutesy and sort of a comic relief for the show. But I don't like how it happened. You're exactly right. She just poof.
Yeah, so like they woof. Yeah. I didn't like it. I think
Yeah. Very shoehorned.
you
Very
should
stuck
at
with it.
least give the stranger and Nori the opportunity to, not be bumbling idiots. But by Poppy showing up, she's just like, "Oh, hey, Dumbos. I know you're dying of starvation and thirst, but this was easy peasy for me. I just got kind of bored back there with those folks.
I found this
was
map
doing
in
too many
Sadoc's
chores."
things.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
why didn't you go through Sadoc's things before you left on this epic adventure?
Yes, I put that in my
Um,
notes too. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, so the only reason Poppy's here is to bring the map that they could have brought anyways. That part didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But that aside, we do get to see the stranger again and Nori, who is one of
Yes.
my absolute favorite characters from the first
Mhm.
season. And we're in a new place. They make it to Rune with the help of Poppy, of course. And there's a dark wizard. There's some new creepy little guys with weird masks. We see more
Masks are
cultists.
cool. Honestly, I want to
They're
call out the
interesting.
costume design of the first episode. They've done
Absolutely.
great. I mean, first 3 episodes. I mean, they're doing fantastic. Absolutely fantastic with world setting.
It doesn't. Some of the other fantasy shows we've been watching recently, I feel like they're creating costumes that are very almost off the shelf. Maybe like they're from a Halloween store. This seems. This actually does seem like like I was going to bring this up. Queen Muriel, like her outfits are wonderful. I like a lot of the elves outfits. It all fits the scenery and like the characters, and it doesn't seem
Right.
like it's just we're a show trying to be Star Wars. This is just like this is a show that is is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Not that I'm taking a
Right.
dig
Well,
at the
that's
acolyte
very
right now.
minimalist. I think so. This
So
area.
put my
this-
mind to it.
First of all, I want to call out the fact that I was most excited about seeing Rune in our season 1 recap. We talked about what we were most excited for. This is what I'm most excited for, and I think I got a pretty good introduction to it. Not only the map fading out, which was very cool, just kind of saying, okay, here's Middle Earth, here's the West, and then it goes to the East, and there is nothing except the word Rune. Very cool. We open on that, Karas Gaer in the Western Rune area. I don't know what the city is. But Andy, when you talk about costume design, you're exactly right. The elves, beautiful. Numenor, beautiful colors and just lace and garments and accoutrement. And then you come to this place where people are clearly struggling. They have one well in this massive desert. I think it's a minimalist design. You might be going a little far with your Halloween store pickup, but it is supposed to
like
look.
it, though.
It's supposed to look simple. It's supposed to look rugged. It's supposed to look, dusty, and it does.
Oh, it was dusty. It was definitely dusty.
It was very dusty.
Especially when
well
the
with the
stranger
bell
got
went.
the
Did not go too swell.
Yeah.
But you know what's
Dust
wonderful?
storm.
What's wonderful about this show as well? These locations are so much different from one another. You have your island nation, you have the Southlands Mordor, you have like beautiful Eregion, and then you have this rugged desert mountainous area. Like, and they're going back and forth, and it just feels like you're living kind of in Middle Earth.
Yeah, you get to feel how
You brought
vast
up-
the world is.
Yeah, you brought up all the different environments, and this was just something I noted just generally across this season so far, as opposed to last season. Last season, it seemed like, and I'm going to jump back to Galadriel and Halbrand real fast. Last season, it seemed as though the focal point was Galadriel. This season, I think it's very much very evident that Halbrand is now the centerpiece.
Yes.
That being said, I noticed that there was a lot less whimsicality in
Whoa.
this season so far.
Okay,
Yeah.
GRE.
Yeah.
You do love a
And
whimsical.
I do love those. So,
Yeah.
Don't fact check him.
and-
Don't fact check him. Let him
Don't
cook.
fact-
Let him
don't-
cook.
Just leave it as is. Let me cook. Let me stir it up.
Yes.
And
Whimsicality
that
is the
being-
word.
And that being said, I do feel like there's almost it's missing sort of a lightheartedness that we really like savored and appreciated in season 1, but I don't think it also would work if we're trying to have Halbrand be the face of season 2. So I wonder if they're going to be able to try and figure that out a little bit, because I know that is a very enjoyable portion of Lord of the Rings, but to be determined.
You almost need the lightheartedness
TBD.
through Durin the Fourth, right? Like you need it through
Right,
some
yeah.
of those like jokes back and forth. because the world around them is chaos, right? It's
Right,
not always going to be
right.
like the Shire or,
It's fun and
Sadok
happy.
singing as they're walking through a swamp, but all having fun together.
We barely
Right.
get a
Right.
single joke in episode 1, and then 2 seconds in episode 2, sure would be nice to have the opals as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jake, I think you're absolutely right. This season's going to be much darker than season 1, just kind of across the board. And the world is just in a worse place now than it was, a few months ago or whenever the beginning of season 1 was.
War has come to
And the moments that we got, the whimsicality in season 1, the main characters who brought that were Durin and Nori and the Harfoots, as you guys
Harfoots,
mentioned.
right.
And I mean, Durin he's making some jokes, but he's in a bad situation right now. The
Horrible
caves are
situation.
Right.
caved in,
Yeah.
and his people are starving. And Nori is also starving and dying of thirst in the middle of a desert, wandering lost for months because she doesn't know which way is east. I don't know.
They just
our
they have a
two
map
like
now.
we're
They
going
keep
in
copying.
circles. Oh my gosh, they pulled lines right out of what Frodo
it
said.
very
I'm
well
sorry.
could be some magical presence. Like
It could be. That's a good way of interpreting
it
it.
could be, or they're little dumbos. But
Or the-
they are not bringing the whimsy as hard as they brought it in season 1.
Right.
Which is we
And
are
that's
missing that aspect
partially-
that we do see in Lord of the Rings, but I
Mhm.
think that's also what we saw in the Lord of the Rings trilogy is like the Fellowship
Yeah.
is a whimsical movie, and then as you get
Absolutely.
to Return of the King, the only
It's darker,
jokes
heavier,
are
for sure.
just Gimli joking about murder, which is maybe not
Yeah.
the most whimsical
that's
thing.
true. Murder and
Yeah.
death. I think part of the reason we're going to see a lot less whimsy, especially in the Nori storyline, is because we've got some new enemies rising out of the east. Not to even
I'm
go as far to
very
say as the
excited.
character being named Dark,
Dark
Wizard.
Wizard.
That's gotta be a good guy.
Also, the Dweller back with these moth
Yes.
people. Turns out they're part of the White Wings. Now, I did watch with subtitles as I do. Those White Wings, when he calls that out, that was not capitalized.
Hmm.
So I don't think this is some society. Clearly, there is a society out here, and they're hell-bent on spilling blood and capturing power, but I don't think the White Wings are part of it. It's more than that. The character that shows up in the mask is named Brank, and we don't know really anything about him or his people yet, but apparently they have a skin malafliction. I'm not quite sure what it is, but very interesting.
So, Chris, I do have some theories that go against our Gandalf theory for the stranger.
Okay.
Yes.
It's all kind of
Because Gandalf is the leading theory right
Let's
now.
go, lore
Gandalf-
master.
Gandalf is the leading theory, but more and more, especially when they introduce the second wizard in Rune, I do think the stranger and the dark wizard are the two blue wizards that in the lore go to Rune. They're not talked about much in the lore, but it's known that initially when Tolkien talked about these blue wizards, they failed their missions and they started creating cults, and there's religious zealots in Rune, and some really dark magic is taking place. Like but they didn't talk about it much. But
That
then
would be very
later
interesting.
on, there was a thought that maybe Tolkien kind of talked about maybe they didn't go fully evil, and there were some parts of Rune that stood up against Sauron, led by maybe one of the wizards. So they haven't talked about it much, but I think this is the case. I think the stranger is the good wizard. I think the dark wizard is the cultish figure, and they're going to be battling against one another.
We shall see.
I'll give that confirmation music right here. That's beautiful. I think you win.
Oh,
Do we have confirmation?
Gandalf is the leading theory, but the fact that there's two wizards, it plays.
When you put it that way, I mean, two wizards in Rune. There are literally two wizards in Rune in lore, as you say.
Yes. But they also it is an incredible misdirect that they keep asking the name.
I know.
Is it
right.
Broderick? Is it What were the other names?
Is it
mentioned?
Andrew?
And Wise.
And
One of them's
Wise, yeah.
And Wise.
And Wise.
Wise is like a surname, which is hilarious for Hobbit folk.
And Wise.
Now, Andy, I don't have my reading glasses. Subscribe to Reading Glasses podcast.
I was waiting for it. I
don't have my reading glasses in order to put on and push up and actually you. Now, you're the lore master. With this theory, I've been told in my research online that the blue wizards that go to Rune are not there in this time period. They are at the very tail end of the Second Age and possibly even in the Third Age. Now, what do you think about that added to your theory? Because there's going to be some people online.
At this point,
is that
we took
2000 in the
2000.
Silmarillion?
Yes, it is actually.
Yeah.
So
let's go.
2,000 years are shrunk into 5 seasons over a 5-year period. So at this point, I don't think the age timeline really plays anymore. But I'll give you that.
It's all wibbly wobbly.
We'll see.
And you
It was
know
like-
what would be so much
yeah.
different? There is chatter online that maybe this Dark Wizard is Saruman. And if that was the case, that would make absolutely no sense. It would break
Yeah.
the lore so
I think it's-
horribly.
Yeah, he cannot be
That's
Saruman.
the
Saruman.
stranger is Saruman.
That would make
Look
more sense
like
than the Dark
Saruman.
Wizard being Saruman.
Yeah, that's actually true. Because he wouldn't
because
be evil at this
Saruman
point.
can't be evil until Lord of the Rings starts. But yeah, we got all sorts of fun stuff going on in Rune. Can't wait to get a little bit more of that because we didn't see any of them in episode 3 after the tornado flung Nori and
Right.
Poppy
yeah.
into
How about
the
that
unknown.
sandstorm?
We haven't seen them since, so we'll have to tune in next week.
That-
to the
those
podcast.
visual
alive.
Those visual effects, beautiful. I
Yeah.
thought that
Yeah.
was done really, really well.
Almost overwhelming. I felt
Yes.
similar to like the Battle of the Bastards. I felt
Mhm.
claustrophobic there.
Oh.
Like
Yeah.
it just I was kept expecting it to cut back to Nori and Poppy being safe, and it just kept going. Which
Yeah.
thematically, he can't control his power. Now
Mhm.
Right.
he's supposed to be able to control his power as soon as he finds a staff, and his staffs keep breaking.
This
Hey,
wizard
been
is
there, brother.
very,
Problem.
very
Really
powerful,
problem
though. Like he's
Yes,
a little.
that much is true.
He's a little too overpowered for my liking. But we'll talk about that on the next podcast. What's the
And
next
here's
topic?
my
Nerf
theory
Dark
as to
Wizard.
where Nori and Poppy got flung off to. They are going to land in the island kingdom of Numenor, where we meet up with our next group of friends.
They're going to go
What a
around the
segue.
circular. They're going to go around the
Yeah.
What an
globe.
Effortless segue.
Smooth as can be, baby. Just like the transition of power in Numenor. Not a single
That was
hitch
better.
there.
That was better.
I am loving the Numenor storyline. I knew it was going to be
Yes.
good with Queen Muriel, her father
Mhm.
dying at the end of season 1. We have Pharazôn trying to usurp, and my theory
Mhm.
about Aarion being evil is getting more and more accurate every
Yes, it
single
is.
day.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, man.
I'm not ready
that
to
scene
confirm
where
that for you, but you're right.
Aarion pulls out the Palantir at the ceremony
Yeah.
and then chucks it at her dad. That was intense, man.
That was insane.
I gotta ask, how many times did they rehearse this ceremony? Because there's no way the queen, unescorted blindly, is walking perfectly down 10 flights of stairs and then veering to the left and then going up the stairs again by herself. It was,
What?
You mean the actress?
it didn't make sense to me. The
This-
actress.
Okay, well, the actress has eyes.
first
and
of all,
this
the
is
The
what I
actress has
hate.
eyes. The actress can see.
Oh yeah,
it.
yeah. Oh, the character, obviously.
This is what I hate about
Jake, that's so
internet
ableist about you.
reviewers of
Yeah.
TV shows. They're coming in here saying, "Oh, there's no way someone can walk downstairs." Well, let's talk about
Blind
the
people
grander
exist-
aspects of the story, Jake. Okay.
No, we cannot gloss over this. Jake, you
Yeah.
know blind people live full, fulfilling lives without the need to be escorted everywhere, right?
Absolutely, but a blind person usually has a walking stick. This was unguided, and this was
This is
Okay, so you're right. When they say they rehearsed it,
Right.
She
She-
probably
she
had a
definitely
Elendil
practiced it
in
out.
there, like
Yeah.
taking him through that once or twice. Like it's a coronation. It was well practiced.
Do you want to
I
watch
can't
the
believe that's
rehearsal,
right.
Jake?
And
Sure.
no, but
Yeah,
I
I was
also
just-
I appreciated that
The
about
only
Queen Muriel though. Like I think she
Exactly.
is such a, and you can hear it when she hears people behind her shouting at her. She turns around.
Yeah.
She's so powerful with her speech. The way that she does descend down into the crowd and turns. Farazan is wanting her to have a mistake, but she doesn't. Unfortunately, it
Even when
doesn't
she
go
gets
her
fucking
way.
slapped in the face.
Yeah, she gets slapped in
Yeah.
the face earlier in the episode, and she takes it and makes it. She's empathetic with the woman that just lost a son. She's obviously lost something, and she's also said we're all hurting. And then, there was one line that she had. I did not write it down, but when she's talking
I
to
think
the
it
men
was,
that are
"Where
shouting
am
behind
I?"
her.
Jake.
Oh no!
I'm just saying, she probably should have just been escorted. It didn't make any sense. Like, it just didn't make sense.
I
It
think
is a
she wanted the
sacred
power.
ceremony.
She wanted to
No one
show
else-
that she.
Oh, yeah. I guess
performative.
she's trying to still
It's
hide the fact that she's
performative.
blind.
Right.
Right. Okay.
The only reason I'm
Sure.
coming at you so hard for this is because A, I can't believe it. So I guess there's two reasons. A, I can't believe that stuck with you. And B, I have in my notes that Cynthia Adai Robinson is so good acting as a blind
she
disabled
is.
person
Yeah.
that I wrote it down in my notes.
Well,
I
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It is so good that I didn't understand if the other characters knew she was blind yet. And then in that bar, or the bar scene, or they're in the restaurant or whatever, they do talk about how she's queen regent, she's not a queen, and she's also blind. So they do know that she is blind at this point in the story. But I didn't know that in the first couple scenes because she's that damn good.
Yeah, I know. I mean, hats off to her for acting. I was just surprised that they didn't have an escort in the scene. I think that's very valid and reasonable.
What
We'll
a
skip over this.
What a small complaint to
It
harp
is.
on so much.
We
Sorry
did talk
to
for 20
derail
minutes
you,
about
Andy.
my complaining of the
I'm trying to
black
give
news, so.
good commentary about how she's a powerful, empathetic leader, but it doesn't
She
matter
is.
because she has so many forces around her that are closing it. She doesn't have
Yep.
any advisors other than Elendil,
Elendil.
but he's really just there as a supporting guardsman. Like he's not really providing political guidance. So her
Or
father
physical guidance.
or which is
All right, Jake, you're in a 60-second
You're out.
hoopla
You're out.
timeout.
you're
But,
out.
60-second hoopla timeout.
Andy, you made me think of something else from this episode. When you were talking about how she got slapped and then she turned it around and hugged the woman and
Yeah,
made it
yeah.
a positive
power
moment
move.
for her. We see the same thing from the other side of the political spectrum at the end of the episode when the eagle shows up. And we hear that, if an eagle shows up to your coronation, that's going to be an
Yeah.
auspicious sign. That's wonderful if an eagle shows up. And then the eagle does show up to, you think, quell the crowds from their
Right.
Yeah.
almost mob as they're
Yeah,
getting
almost a
riled
mob
up by
mentality.
Arian.
Yeah.
And then the new guy, I forget the new guy's
Oh,
name.
from the north. He's from the Lord Elrond or something.
Oh, Balian.
Yeah,
Balian.
Balzaraz or whatever.
I do not like him
he-
at all. He has the most punchable face.
I don't think you're supposed
You're not
to.
And then
supposed
he
to, but
turns
he
that
just makes me
around.
so mad.
He takes
He's
the
like,
eagle showing up for
Farazan.
Muriel and says,
Son.
"This eagle's here for Farazan," and
Yeah.
everyone gets on board. And the eagle's like, "What? What the fuck you talking? No, no, I want that lady." Just like,
Mhm.
yeah. And eagle's like, "What over there?"
But
That
you
one.
kn- But at
Yeah,
that
no.
moment though, he's now where there was the earlier scene where he said you could be the past and wear this white, or you could wear this red and be the new monarch that's going to make
Mhm.
change and turn Numenor for the better. And then,
then
in that
he wore
moment,
red.
he's the one that wears red as he has the eagle behind him and he takes out
The
his
red eagle
sword.
shows up. Yeah.
Like Chris,
That's a
wearing
cool
red.
cool imagery. Cool imagery.
And me wearing
Mhm.
white. What does that mean about the Hoopla pod? Are you about to be the new host of the Hoopla podcast,
It
Chris?
means I win,
Oh,
baby.
no.
Oh, that's great.
And Jake,
Congratulations,
Chris.
And Jake is an ent.
Promotion.
Jake is an ent.
He is an ent.
Tree.
What about
I
that?
am no
We haven't even
tree.
talked about the ent possibility of an ent.
Oh.
Ending of the episode.
Oh.
That's right. We haven't made it to. Let's
haven't
finish
talked
up our conversation with Numenor real quick, and then we'll jump over to Southlands. Anything else on the Numenor side of things?
Oh,
I
the
mean, I thought Farazan. I think it's going to be interesting
Yeah,
with
very
him
cool.
holding up the sword and how that's going to throw the whole political schemes into disarray. More to come.
Yeah. More to come.
I am a big fan of is it Valandir? The friend,
Yeah,
Isildur's
the
friend.
friend.
Him at the
Mhm.
bar listening in to Iarian, who's really gone off the deep end. Like she's just descended and like she's really into Kemen. Kemen is
Who could have seen
terrible.
that coming? Kemen still sucks.
Kemen
Number
is
one.
Kemen
terrible.
remains sucky.
I thought maybe in this season Kemen would be a positive force. That clearly did not happen, and they showed that very early on.
Nope.
But I did really appreciate like that R scene of them scheming in kind of like out and away from the noble houses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I do want to take one line away from that bar scene, from the Numenor scene. I thought the whole scene was very cool. Struggle of power, that things like this start with word of mouth. They start in the bars, things like that. But Farazan says, "It is the ale talking. It would be wise to lower its voice." And that goes so hard, man. I'm going to start using that at when I'm out with friends and they're being
yeah.
stupid.
That is very
Dude,
good.
give me the keys. I'm good to drive. It is the ale talking. It would be wise to lower its voice.
That's pretty good. It is very good. Yeah. So there are a few things I'm looking forward to in Numenor as the story continues because we got a lot to go. But number one, Kemen still sucks. Number two, what did Aarian see in the Palantir
In the Palantir,
when she
yeah.
grabbed it?
Yes.
And what did Elendil see in the Palantir when he briefly touched it?
And why did he get blown backwards? Like the force. Like what is the force on the other end? There was, that was the whole thing, the Lord of the Rings. There's he's on the other end watching. You never know. So what's on the other end that would force Elendil away, but would take
versus when Pippin grabs it, he's stuck to it for a while. Like he can't get rid of it.
And
So
almost the
very
same thing.
And I know
with
there's
Aragorn,
different
too.
Palantirs.
Yeah.
Many questions to be answered, and I can't wait for it. But Elendil being all sad about the death of his son when he doesn't even have to be because Isildur is still alive. He was just captured by a spider. Who had that in their guesses for season 2?
Not me.
Not me.
That was pretty good.
Yeah,
I
that was-
appreciated that.
I like that. That was kind of a nice callback to
Well, and
The
what
call
was great
forward.
about that is they
Yeah.
alluded to it
Yeah.
when they showed the transition over right next to Cirith Ungol, which is where Frodo went through, where Shelob
Mhm.
is. And some people are saying that maybe Shelob was in the background. And
Eh.
I don't know if that's the case, but either way, it's clearly of the same like kind in that area and how they get
Sure. Black Forest, yeah.
they grow. And it was a creepy scene though.
It was
I also
creepy as
appreciated
hell.
the orc
Incredibly
coming
creepy.
to alive. And before that, Barrack is my hero. One of my favorite
Barrack.
animals of all time.
Yeah.
Barrack
Yeah.
just ruined those orcs. Just
Dude, that
he
kick
When they
into the
got
tree.
impaled by the
hit him
tree,
into
yeah.
the tree. The other one thought he had him, and Barrack's stronger than that orc.
Yeah.
That was great.
I don't want to pay too much attention to the online flames that, some people are saying, this would never happen. How could you do this? Just so stupid. People are going to come for Barrack. How could a horse find this person through the Black Forest and survive on its own, fighting off 4 orcs? When a horse in the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
did the exact same thing. And I can't wait to see that online and for me to just be typing away, brother, if you're mad at this show, just go watch the original trilogy because horses are magic. Baby.
Brago went and
Yeah.
found Aragorn like
Cross chasms.
500 miles now, like probably 30 miles away, just like went and smelled him out. And that's what Beric did. He smelled him out.
Yeah,
Horses
it's
smell
like
so bad.
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
poetry. It
Just
rhymes.
rancid.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah, so I don't have a ton to say about everything that happened with the Southland people. We get
They didn't have a
Isildur,
ton to do.
and he meets a new person, and
Estrid.
Estrid.
I enjoyed their
Arondir
chemistry.
shows up.
Yeah, good
and
chemistry. I agree.
it's-
Mhm.
Yeah, I do like the new character, but like not really much happens with them. You know, they kind of we see
Right.
them. Arondir's there, then they go to this town.
How-
Good to see Arondir.
Palantir. Yeah.
And I think the relationship between Theo and Arondir, and now Theo and Isildur, may grow to be something that's interesting. But I think we didn't get much in the first 3 episodes. of
Other
these
than
guys, so-
Bronwyn's death.
Yeah, that was very
Yeah.
That
sad.
was
Yeah,
a.
that was
What
sad.
an interesting decision.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting
So
that at all. Actually,
was not a story decision. That was an actress decision.
Oh, is she out?
Nazanin Bonyadi
Interesting.
left the show. And so they killed off Bronwyn because
Wow.
the actor decided not to come back for season 2. So
Man,
and that's why
instead
it
of-
felt...
killed Adar.
Instead of
we lost Adar
instead of
and we lost
recasting,
Bronwyn.
they took the character out.
They just said, yeah, she looked like she was getting better until, oh no, I guess the orcs have poison arrows. Whoopsies.
Yeah, that was I like that explanation at least. A 5-second interjection because we're not talking about this. Jake, since you said Adar, quick shout out to Sam Hazeldine taking over and not missing a beat.
Yeah,
for
he was
Adar.
great as Adar.
I completely agree. I completely agree.
But
very
Southlands.
same like character tone. Right
Yeah,
on
you
point.
wouldn't realize there was.
he
a
honestly-
recasting. Yeah.
In makeup, he kind of reminded me of like a young Sean Bean. I don't know why I was kind of getting that vibe. But
okay.
I also don't know
Yeah.
why you were getting that vibe.
Hey,
I was. He kind of
I
looked
mean,
like a young Sean Bean.
I
to me.
appreciate
I'll
that
watch it
you.
again.
I appreciate that you see an actor and you're like, "That's a young Sean Bean," because that's a good sight. We all love
Yeah.
Sean Bean.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, we do love
Yeah.
Sean Bean. But you know what happens to Sean Bean?
Arrows.
Which will probably happen to Adar,
Adar.
if we're honest.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I know what
all these
happens
actors
to
that are
Sean
leaving the
Bean.
show, they all know their characters are gonna die. That's the whole situation.
I do.
I know what happens to Sean Bean. I also knew exactly what was going to happen when Isildur and Estrid happened across that. Oh, this poor innocent man
Yeah.
with a broken down wagon. I kind of called that.
It's
I've
because
seen
you
enough
play Dungeons
highway
and Dragons
robberies.
and you
Yeah,
play video
exactly.
games. That's every single scene.
Don't trust
But
it.
did you know that Arondir was going to show up out of nowhere and save the day?
I
you
did
know
not.
that?
I
And-
love that aspect of it.
and he did a
What way to
little,
bring him back.
A tornado wind circle
He did.
through the
the cart.
carriage
Yeah.
to
Yes.
take out an enemy. Yeah.
And he
Uh,
also stabbed someone up
Mhm.
the jaw with an arrow, and then
Oh, that was
threw
so
it at
tight.
another person. It was so sick.
Arondir's fucking awesome.
But more than it being
Yeah.
cool and more than it being a reason to bring him back, thematically, he cannot stop watching over these people, these human folk.
Mhm.
He's been doing it for thousands of years, hundreds, a long time.
Mhm.
It's instilled in him. So the fact that he's there when they need him did not feel like a Deus Ex Machina story point. It felt
Yeah.
like that is his purpose. He is watching over these people and trying to rid evil from these lands in whatever form it may
And
take.
he'll do it all the way through, especially now that Bronwyn's
Exactly.
gone. And no matter how much
Especially.
Theo pushes back on him, and that's an interesting relationship.
Totally agree.
I want to know. I hope that's not dragged too long in terms of just every episode we see Theo kind of, no, get away from me. No, get away from me. Like, I think there should be I would like to see some movement there. And maybe that's because Theo's going to get in trouble and Arondir is going to save him again.
Theo's in some trouble.
I
right
wonder-
now.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder with them having to do the rewrite to take out Bronwyn, how that's going to influence Arondir and Theo's relationship going forward. Because obviously
That's a
there is
big
some
rewrite.
degree of because obviously there's like some degree of entertainment value with their romantic relationship, Arondir's and Bronwyn's. But that being gone, now you have to have this fatherhood relationship.
Yeah.
That's
And Theo doesn't want that
right.
so far.
Right.
In fact, he says, "Never speak to me again."
Yeah.
And not going well so far.
And what happens with Arondir's face is he has no expression change. Just absolutely
Yeah.
zero
He
expression.
did-
I mean,
he
that's
got
always
a-
how he is.
Just a
little
little
bit.
sad. He
Stone
got a little
cold.
sad.
Was he a little sad? He was.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Hey,
Yeah.
but Jamie,
So-
right after that happened, Estrid and Isildur's conversation at the campfire, I thought was
Yeah.
spectacular.
That was a very good,
Very good.
very
Mhm.
good conversation there. We learned that Isildur is the reason that his mom drowned. Devastating. And we also see it. Theo is listening in on that conversation, and we see him react to that. Yeah. I have a question for you guys about Estrid. We see after that conversation, she removes
Has
the
the mark.
brand, the mark of Sauron, from her neck. Did she just kind of bow to Sauron because she was
Oh.
captured and she was trying to stay alive? Or is she a follower of
Or-
Sauron who is disguising herself to infiltrate the humans? What's her deal?
Great question.
It's great. It's a very good question.
Could go either
I
way.
You've
thought of
asked
that.
such a good question that we will simply have to watch the show in order to answer it.
Well,
I
that's
don't
not
even
the
have
you know
Hoopla
what though?
way.
I
don't even have a
no,
guess.
We're all making
No,
a
we don't know anything
declaration
about
here,
her.
and then I'm gonna make a theory. I'm gonna make a declaration. It
Sure.
seemed too sincere, the way that she was talking with Isildur. Like I think that Estrid, this is my theory, is Isildur's future queen of Gondor. She is the wife of Isildur and is actually in the parentage of Aragorn. I think this is a good relationship here. I feel like I
That
feel
is a
really
huge
good about their
theory.
chemistry.
That's a very big theory.
But I do
Holy
think she
cow.
was branded, but I it just seemed really sincere. But maybe
Even
the
though she's
actress just
betrothed?
fooled me.
She is
Well,
betrothed.
I think
So-
that was a fake out. Right?
That's
I don't think that's true.
my theory.
I agree.
Leading me towards her being a bad guy is her betrothed is either Adar or Sauron, and she is in search
Her betrothed
of.
is Sauron.
It's not her actual betrothed, but
Okay.
the person she's referring to when she says her betrothed is Sauron, and she is
as like my leader.
working. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my theory.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of yours.
Yeah, I hadn't considered it prior to that, Jimbo, but now that you bring it up, that's a disguise type situation for me. All in.
All right.
All in.
The
I love
party's
it.
split.
I love it.
Chris,
Great
you got to pick a
misdirect.
side right now.
Take my side, Chris.
I think
Come
she's
to
evil.
the light.
I mean,
Oh,
Here's-
Andy loses.
you guys are going to be so disappointed when we realize that
Here's-
she's Aragorn's great.
Well, the last time we did this on an episode 1 situation, Andy was correct. It was Mount Doom. So he may have some ground to stand on here.
That's true. That's true.
okay, there's one mountain in the entire Southlands. We knew that was going to be Mount Doom. I'm not so impressed.
That could have been the Lonely
Everest.
Mountain. You don't know where the Southlands were.
Look, you asked my opinion, and here it is. I think she's evil because he walks up and says, "Don't burn yourself." Okay, she was doing something in a private, out-of-the-way area, and she was going to do that regardless of him walking up.
Mm.
So I think she was trying to hide it the first chance she got in the middle of the night. Because you can't very well light a campfire in the middle of the day. I mean, you could, but people would ask questions. So she moves away. She's taking some time to herself. She's going to hide this brand. Halbrand, Sauron, Adar, evil, Lev. Oh my God! we figured it out. Sauron is vile.
Okay,
Wow.
quick, Jake.
Hey, I stand by that.
Estrid. What's an anagram for Estrid? You think on that while I.
Detris.
That's true.
Oh my god.
He's not wrong.
Think about it. Think about it.
So one final question, because the last thing we see with Theo is as he's running away from these evil men, he looks up. And we see the camera angle looking down on him as he's staring up at some sort of tall creature. And maybe we hear the sound of wood creaking and cracking and snapping twigs.
And let's just imagine that we did not watch the trailer, right?
Of course.
It could be that giant troll that we
could
saw
be.
earlier. That would be
the
interesting.
Giant troll.
Oh wait, his name
or
is what is it? Draymond or
Draymond.
the Hill
it's like
Troll,
I think
Killer
it's
of
like
the Stone
Damrod
Giants,
or something.
Damrod. It was
Yeah.
Damrod.
Damrod. Killer of the Stone Giants.
Yeah.
Weren't the Stone Giants the things throwing rocks at them on the mountainside in The Hobbit?
Oh, like the
yeah.
If
good
that's a
call.
stone giant, how did Damrod do that? Like, good for
That's
Damrod.
what I'm saying.
Good
right?
for
I don't
Damrod.
know, we'll see.
Wow.
I gotta look that up. Gotta fact check myself.
Fact check.
So Theo stands no fucking chance against Damrod if that guy can
Regardless
kill
of what it
stone
is.
giants.
So Theo's
So
either
let's
gonna
pray it's
sm-
an ent. Please be
It's
an
a-
ent.
It must be an ent.
That must be the theory, yeah.
It's
This is an
gotta be.
ancient place of greenery. I did like to call out as Isildur says, "Oh, this is not a fountain. This is a Numenorian aqueduct. This is ancient technology
Yeah.
that we brought over to these western shores of Middle Earth." What was it? Palangir, Pelagrir city? I forget.
Palargir.
Pelagir, something.
Yeah,
like
which
that.
is the
Um,
like the port city for Gondor, right
Right.
off the Anduin. I am super excited though to see what happens with the Theo storyline there, because one misdirect was that an axe that was thrown through the air at the human.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
I think
that
Well,
goes
and then
against
the chopping of the tree was rhythmic and very like intentionally leading.
yeah, so the person who is chopping the tree, we
Mm.
see that axe lying on the ground with that person having been dispatched of.
okay.
And so my
Mhm.
theory would be that the ent showed up and said,
The
"Hey,
ent
stop
grabbed
chopping
it.
down trees. You
Mm.
go over there. This axe
Mm-hmm.
that was hurting my friend, let me kill your friend with this axe."
An axe is so small to
Yeah.
an ent. So that would be it's almost like the ent would have to get really low and do a little flick of the wrist. I don't know. So that
Maybe
I was like,
maybe
Little crouch.
the ent.
how
just,
often would an ent use an axe? You know, we'll see.
Never.
We'll
I think
see.
that's pretty funny, honestly.
Yeah.
Great
Maybe
weapon of choice
Isildur
for an
grabbed the
ent.
axe and did the
Tossed it.
axing, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's very exciting.
Yeah.
But yes,
I
go ahead.
I will do our best to transition us here into maybe some final notes and then wrapping up, because as a general thing, I want to say, coming off of that scene towards the end and a couple of the other scenes, the lighting was a problem. Did anyone else feel that way? It was
It
very
was
dark.
dark. It was very dark.
I didn't
Now
notice a problem
it was
with the
well
lighting.
contrasted and easily ignored because we see, the light of the I was gonna say Erd tree. That's Elden Ring. The light of the great tree, the grand tree, great tree, whatever. We see so many beautiful things. Like I said, the light of the mirrors in Khazad-dûm before they eventually get taken down. The show itself has beautiful colors, extraordinarily bright and eye-popping scenery. But some of the night scenes were incredibly dark. Reminded me of season 8 of Game of Thrones. I hate to even bring it up, but did anyone else feel that badly, or
wow.
did I just watch it in a
I-
bad dark area?
I don't think the contrast was that significant, but it was difficult to see in certain scenes and moments. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
not
I'm not
notice
alone
that
in
at all. I
Oh,
enjoyed it visually
Good.
the whole time.
no, I'm
Yeah.
happy.
But
for
you know who
I'll-
didn't
Maybe
enjoy
we
it
need to-
visually the
Maybe
whole
we
time?
both need to turn up our brightness.
Maybe
Hey,
Oh, I did. That's the thing. That's half
Oh,
the reason
wow.
I'm calling it out.
Oh,
'cause I did
wow.
turn
So
up
it
was
brightness,
that
so it
dark
didn't
for
help
you.
Yeah,
much.
that's crazy.
Okay. Interesting.
Well,
Not as dark as it is
Yeah.
for Queen Muriel, though. So at least you got that going for you, and
It's
you
true.
can take
Oh my
solace in the
God.
fact that you can watch a show that she cannot watch.
Oh my god! You
oh
doubled down.
my God.
Only because
doubled
TVs don't
down.
exist. Only because TVs don't exist. Don't come at me.
What a save!
Yes.
So
So
I'm glad TVs do exist because this show is great.
That's great.
I'm so glad to
is
be
very
back
good.
in Middle Earth, back with the Rings of Power season 2. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Hobbit Hoopla podcast. Tune in next week for episode 4 when we will be halfway done with the season. How fucked up is that? That sucks a lot. Since next
Yeah.
week we'll be halfway
That's
done with the
true.
season.
That's it.
That is
I was kind
crazy.
of disappointed realizing, wow, we only have 5 more left, and I
Yeah,
just
5
started.
Yeah.
I
I
binged
know.
through
Yeah.
3, but I kind of
it's kinda
it's time
sad.
for a rewatch.
It is
Yeah.
already.
It's
So
time
as we
for-
bring the episode to a close, as we always do, we'll do a little round robin. We're going to give our ratings for the first 3 episodes. We'll do 1 rating for the whole chunk, the whole opening of season 2, and any final thoughts you guys have. So let's do it in the order that you guys are on my screen right now, starting with Jake Laxer.
Nice.
Alrighty, so we'll dive right on in here. I personally felt that there could have been just a 1 singular episode release drop. I think episode 1 would have been totally fine. Love the Halbrand bit. Love just introducing, Casa Doom again, touching on, how Halbrand's transitioning across and inflicting his means across the world. It was nice to have the additional episodes, but it was a lot of information for a singular week. That being said, very entertaining. It was great to see all the characters again. Again, the Poppy thing is probably also my golden gripe. If I had to choose one,
Besides the
could have
Galadriel
been-
smile,
no, the Galadriel smile was a golden thumb. That was-
besides
I will
Muriel
approve.
walking upstai's,
That was a gripe. If she was escorted, I would have been fine with it, but not a big deal. Not a big deal either way. So I want to say this was probably an 8.3 out of 10 for me. Great starting point.
we forgot our rating
um,
scale for Hobbit Hoopla is always on a scale
Oh,
of
it's
1 to
111.
111.
111.
Oh my god, my mistake. That's going to
Quick,
be
do
an
some math.
87. That's going to be an 87 out of 111 for me. And I greatly enjoyed being back in the world of Lord of the Rings. And for me, I think honestly, I may have enjoyed it better if we didn't get to the forging of the Dwarven ring so fast. I thought that was pretty expedited.
It's quick.
But that's my 2 cents.
Great sense. I appreciate that.
87. 87.
I love it. Shout out Travis Kelsey and Christopher,
Wait, why? I missed that.
number 87.
Wow,
Yeah,
deep cut.
yeah.
Deep cut.
Deep cut. The
I mean,
most
it's-
famous
it's not that
football
deep.
player.
It's very superficial.
I know, but like, how do you know
didn't
his
get it.
number?
I'm a big Swiftie.
He's
so
one of
everybody
the
knows
best
that.
football players in the world right now.
His jersey.
Yeah, I mean,
Also, Jamie's a huge Swiftie.
The biggest Swiftie you've ever seen.
you're
yeah.
a Carolina
Number
Panthers fan. How
87,
do you know
Swift.
numbers? Anyways, we move on.
Irrelevant,
Chris. Go ahead.
Real quick before I move into my wrap up and ratings, some final thoughts and quick hits. We in these 3 episodes we got both the phrase "the Lord of the Rings" when we first see Annatar, and we
Oh,
got
that's
the Rings
The
of
Rings of
Power,
Power.
which is right there. Both of those phrases were said. We also saw a baby orc for the first
Yeah,
time,
what the
bringing
fuck
a
was
little bit
that?
of
Oh, that was
humanity
interesting.
to the
That was
orcs,
so
which is
cute,
very
too.
interesting.
The family,
It
the
was
full
adorable.
family there.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
love
whole little
Adar,
family.
so-
was great.
I also have a note here. I forgot how much I liked the theme to this show.
Mhm.
We didn't hear it in episode 1 because obviously
Mhm.
we go right into the Halbrand story. But the opening cinematic and theme are just beautiful. And then my final thought before I go into my rating:
Oh, wow.
Amazon. This is your $700 million baby. It is your pride and joy. Why are you putting ads?
Yes,
in the
that's
middle
what I
of
was
my
gonna say.
episodes?
Oh,
I
my
understand.
God.
I understand that everyone is doing it, and now they have different tiered pricing for these subscriptions that keep going up and up and up. I'm not here to comment about late stage capitalism. I am here to tell you this is your pride and joy show. You want people to like this. You should not be putting ads on premiere day of your baby show.
I agree 1
I said
million
what I said.
percent.
Thank you. That's something I had to get off my chest. You can run ads before, fine. definitely don't put them in the middle, and really you shouldn't be putting them anywhere. I digress. Talking about the content of this show, I am giving this 3 episodes arc a 93 out of 11. I so enjoyed being back in this universe. I don't think there is a single storyline that is wasted here. I said that on my live reaction in the story. Everyone feels important. Everyone feels like they have a goal that is eventually going to lead, Jamie, like you said earlier, to this the age of the Second War into the beginnings of the Third Age. And I feel there is no wasted talent on the actor and crew side, and I feel there's no wasted story on the story writing and show running side. Everything here is clicking so far. A couple weird things, like we've said, the Poppy thing. I talked about Galad with his motivations, a little strange, very quick change of hearts. But I think we need to, like Andy said earlier, take this 2,000 some odd year storyline and realize that they're trying to tell a story in 40 episodes on average. Hopefully not all seasons are 8. We'll see. Maybe they do more for the last. I don't know. We'll leave that up to the future. But for right now, these 3 episodes were excellent. Welcome back to Middle Earth. 92 out of 11.
Hell yes. I love it. And I could not agree more about the ads. When I was doing my rewatch of season 1 and the ads showed up, I was frustrated, but I was like, all right, that's fine. The show's been out for 2 years.
Right.
Put your ads in there. But on premiere day, to show ads
Stupid.
this is the biggest show.
And
they've
how
ever
many people are gonna press go ad free when that showed up on the right hand side?
Not me.
Not me, bitch.
Oh,
I looked at
well,
my
not
phone
you,
for 30
but
seconds.
a lot of people
I,
will. A lot of people will, and that's why they did it.
I
I
challenge that. I think more people will complain about it than actually sign up with that.
Well,
I think
to
more
Jake's
people
point,
challenge
only
that.
37% of the people watched the end of the
Exactly.
last season anyway.
Talk about a way
true.
to tune people
Yeah,
out.
they're
Put
already
ads in the middle of
struggling.
the action.
There was
Yeah.
there was one point though where Adar is speaking, and then it's the weirdest transition to throw in like a Hello
Yeah.
Fresh.
Back to
want
school
some
savings
dog
only at
food?
Target.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty
You're
funny.
wrong about the signups, Andy, but you are right about what you're about to say.
I
in your final
legitimately
round.
think, to cut Andy off, more people will stop watching the show than will go ad free.
Yes,
Because they're already
Well,
struggling
Amazon
to
clearly
get people
doesn't.
to watch the show. Well, they're fucking idiots.
Amazon is stupid.
Well,
Andy, give me
you
your
know.
rating. We were happy
right.
and now we're angry.
well, I get
I'm
it.
still
I get
very
it.
happy.
I get
I
it.
think the show needs more ads.
You know what? At this point, I'm going ad free. Thanks, Amazon, for giving me that other tier option.
Yeah, you better not
Uh,
use the Hoopla budget for that.
Oh, I already did. Oh no, you guys can use my login. Okay. So I was very, very impressed with how quickly they got to these storylines, and that was the last season. There was a lot of buildup of characters. Now we don't have. There wasn't a long reintroduction. It was a quick. We're back in the storyline. They introduced the storylines back also in a pretty simplistic way. I think people could just understand where we are at this point, even when you jump over to Durin's storyline or jump over to what's happening with Isildur, right? And because they did that, they were able to. The pacing felt better. It was quick, but it wasn't. It didn't feel rushed necessarily, even though there was a lot happening. It just felt natural in terms of the pace of how events were taking place over and over. And then I talked about it earlier, the environment of going to these different lands, I think it works really well. There's not necessarily that focus on one character. Yes, Halber and Sauron is the overarching character, but each individual storyline has its thematically plays well together, but it's like a cohort of characters are traversing the storylines together, and it just makes it interesting. There's changes. It doesn't have to be all about Galadriel versus Elrond, and philosophically, what should the elves be doing, right? And that just got me into the story, and I was super happy about it. And once again, Durin and Disa are my favorite characters. I'm going to
Absolutely.
give this
They're so good.
a 91 out of 100.
Ooh.
Hoopla.
Hoopla.
Try
Are you
that
Price is
again.
Right ruling me?
11. You know what? Okay, I'm going to say something. I went to the Hobbit movie set earlier this year, and I was told the guide actually said 1101.
That's
I'm like, what the?
That's not even
what's
close
going on?
to
That's not
correct.
even the. That's not. And I'm not
Whoa.
going to correct the Hobbit and
Have
a guide,
No.
Have we-
tour guide.
1100.
have we watched? Have we watched it in the New Zealand English dialect?
That's
Is that how they
true.
pronounce it?
Oh,
11
Yeah. Is
okay, that sounds about right, Jamie.
Sure, yeah.
That's right.
Anyways, 91 out of 11.
Hoopla.
Hooplas.
Wonderful.
Anyone want to add a Halbrand Jesus +1 bonus modifier? No, for Annatar.
What?
No.
Do you mean Satan?
Oh, like
No.
rebirth
Oh,
and-
I will-
Yeah, there was like the clouds.
Oh, that was
and it
actually
was just like floating.
okay.
It was like amazing.
That was
this
actually an
giant
honorable
spectacle.
mention. I did not state Annatar. The introduction of Annatar was incredible, and
Very
that
cool.
was something that I was hoping to happen in season 1. Instead, they introduced Halbrand, which is kind of a new character, which I like that version of Sauron, but this fits so well, and the motivations between Annatar and Celebrimbor, it worked, and you could just see Celebrimbor just falling over time,
He's
and
Dumb.
and I can't wait to see
So
what,
tractable.
more and more what Annatar does in Eregion as people start coming, like as Adar comes towards him. It's gonna be very
Oof.
interesting.
I hate how weak-minded Celebrimbor was.
He's
I
only
think
weak
he's stupid.
in comparison to
He's
Sauron.
blinded.
Yeah, like I don't
And
think
he's
he's a
blinded
bad
by
character.
pride.
Yeah,
You know, he talks about how, oh, this is my moment. I've been alive for thousands of years. I've been forging the weapons and whatever they need from me for the entire elf kingdom here in Middle Earth, and this is my moment. So he's partially blinded, but also he's
Yeah.
dumb.
he's like you always talk about my father, right? Like it's one of those situations again. It's
Feanor.
like it's always about Feanor, and I never get to live up, but I can now. And this godlike figure is a messenger to him. It's just it
You've
makes
shown
sense.
me your real form.
It makes
Yeah.
sense as to why that fall took place. I
And
didn't think
we
it was going to be that effective.
finally
actually.
have a good elf costume wig in the show.
Ooh,
yeah.
The worst
yeah.
costuming of the entire Rings of Power is the freaking hairdos that all the elves have. They
Whoa.
just look so not elf-like. And Annatar shows up and he's got
They-
that classic elven hairstyle, beautiful, straight, flowing hair.
It just looks
and
like, you know,
looks right.
Thranduil and
yeah,
it
get
does look right.
get Elrond with his little short haircut out of here. Give me that long elf hair.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'll give
Yeah.
this a 90 out of 11. Great start. I do agree that
Hoopla.
maybe we didn't need 3 episodes dropped at the same
Mhm.
time. I think 1 would have been fine, 2 would have been great, 3 is a little bit too much. And I mean, the fact that we're halfway done with the season next week sucks.
Mhm.
But I
That's
did like seeing, I mean, the 3 did play together really well. It felt like we just watched a movie. And we
I agree.
did
yeah.
just watch a movie. It was about 3 hours.
Yeah,
Once
like
that's
we didn't
also
get the,
true. The run
the
lengths of those.
satisfaction of the stories coming to an end. Like we only got the start of 15 different storylines. We didn't get a full story arc. So we had 3 hours worth of TV show without
Just
having
great content.
any of the stories. I mean, it was great. I enjoyed all of it, but it was just a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot to consume.
They could have got
and
away with 2.
perhaps Amazon will consider that for season 3 when they throw in more ads.
Yeah,
because they
exactly.
won't have time for a third episode.
Just do 30-minute episodes, 30-minute ads,
Jake,
and you're
Jake,
good to go.
clearly they're going to up the episode count and up the ad count at the same time. Four episodes,
And speaking
13
of
minutes of
ads,
ads.
don't forget to subscribe to the Hoopla podcast on whatever app you use, and YouTube and Twitter and all that stuff. And so that we don't run the risk of also going for 3 hours, Bye. It's now time for the moment of highest hoopla, the quote of the episode.
Jamie, the quote of the episode is from Círdan to Elrond. If you believe they have strayed, do not abandon them, but rather open your eyes and guide them before the darkness spreads across Middle-earth and blinds us all.
Muriel style. Bye.
Oh my god.
Oh my. Don't know what I can say about that one other than